Earlier on Newsroom, but staying with the commemorations under the theme Building Tomorrow's Legends today, taking the tune from The Woman of 1956, the Eastern Cape government is out in Mount Fletcher to commemorate World AIDS Day. The HIV and AIDS pandemic poses the greatest developmental challenge for the province. A report for the Eastern Cape AIDS Council estimates that the HIV prevalence rate in the Eastern Cape is between 8 to 11%, especially growing faster among the youth. Today, the provincial government will use this day to educate and empower their communities, focusing on the youth and also teaching them safety methods to reduce infections and teenage pregnancies, amongst other things. Our reporter Iviwe Poti is at these commemorations and has an update for us.
A very good day to you too. We are still here in Mount Fletcher. The program the Eastern Cape government has been running here to commemorate World AIDS Day has come to an end. But just before, we close off, pack our bags and leave, we're going to speak to the MEC Mlibo Qoboshiyane, who's going to tell us a bit more about food security, which links very importantly with the fight against HIV and AIDS, as well as to educate the youth a bit further in terms of how to sustain themselves as home units. We have already alluded earlier that we do find, especially in the Eastern Cape, there's a prevalence, of HIV affected and infected homes, especially those affected child-headed homes. Earlier on, as part of the program, the MEC, was part of a session where they were planting trees. But he's going to tell us a bit more about the importance of food security, especially your health foods, your vegetables and fruits when it comes to the fight against HIV, and also creating awareness around that situation. MEC, tell us a bit more about how food security links in with the program specifically that we've been running today.
Well, we've identified this area as one of the strategic partnership that together with the Department of Health we need to strengthen and consolidate. Part of that, we identified today is the 1st of December, World AIDS Day, that we need to partner, and then we ensure that community gardens, food security, training and skills and advices that our own extension officers must impact to those identified NGOs is becoming much more critical, because it's going to be of no use where we are going to only use medication whilst people we know that they don't have food back at home. We've identified child-headed families, for instance, those that are living below poverty line, and we've identified a program of home-based gardens as the solution and the contributor to ensure that at least they've got sustainable food production in the areas where they are coming from.
When we talk about partnerships as well, while looking at the Eastern Cape, very vast, very big, we have a population of about almost 7 million, and mostly predominantly the Eastern Cape is made of rural areas.
Yes.
Are we going to find programs where these home gardens, farming are also, made to look attractive to the youth? Youth are, normally attracted to fasty things, your internet, but how are you going to make it look attractive to the youth as well, to ensure that we keep those young women away from what we call your places?
Actually, I've already identified a program where we need to create a new obsession as a province of the Eastern Cape, targeting young people right where they are. For instance, we've opened a cyber lab here. One of the critical things is to use the gadgets, the technology to advance agriculture at the same time. Whilst they are coming from their food gardens, taking those pictures, associating themselves with what their schools can do and what that can be replicated at home, and want to see those pictures on Facebook, young agronomists growing so that we can nurture. The reason why we decided to come and plant 60 trees here is an indication that everything is starting from a seed level, so that it germinates up until its fruition, so that people can harvest from the knowledge growth they've managed to design and develop for themselves. And part of that is to ensure that we are engaging. We've adopted high schools, junior secondary schools, including last week I was interacting with Forte, Faculty of Science and Agriculture, just to say agriculture is a game changer. Agriculture is going to be a cushion for the poor, and it is up to this province to advance agricultural equipment and infrastructure, education levels and skills, so that young people can just take this as a hobby instead of being an incidental occurrence. And we want them to wear their own white overalls, green overalls in laboratories, analyzing food and analyzing whatever bacteria that we can identify. To quantify, we need engineers. We still need a lot of agricultural scientists, soil scientists and so on. And we do have those people. We want to link a farm to young people as cooperatives so that they can produce, they can also value add, they can take food to the market so that we can create more jobs and opportunities for them.
And then just lastly, MEC, I think when we also speak about, being healthy, certain sicknesses such as your diabetes or HIV are linked to specific foods that then, make your immune system stronger. Will we also find that within the schools, the department will maybe empower the schools, or the department will come to the rural areas to actually tell people what to actually farm in their home gardens?
Oh, certainly, yes. Our provincial cabinet, for instance, has taken a decision that as we are going to advance with agri-parks, as we are going to advance in food production, state must procure those kinds of services and goods from those that are planting in their own areas where they are producing more. And that on its own is an opportunity for them. And the question of saying, in terms of our agro-ecological zones, what is it that you can plant here? What kinds of seeds, what kind of seedlings, what kind of skill, where you can be in a maize production, where are the areas of livestock, and so on. All of that dimension have been analyzed well in the province. It's the question of saying, a graduate from university must adapt to this new change and new reality. There is no substitute for agriculture. Every day, each individual needs food. We want Eastern Cape that is food sovereign, Eastern Cape that can one day declare that each family household must have 3 meals per day. And it dependent upon us of how we approach the funding models, the partnership with those that have grown in the sector, and create new industries and new rural enterprises so that people can wake up from their own villages to the fields, from the fields to processing centers, from processing centers to markets, because every day people still buy food, and I think every day people must produce food.
Thank you so much for your time, MEC.
Thank you very much.
Well, there we have it. That was the MEC of Agriculture, Mlibo Qoboshiyane, telling us a bit more in terms of how they are actually looking to link food security to the fight against HIV and all those other viruses that especially those people in the rural areas find themselves prone to. As we said earlier on, the Eastern Cape is majority made by your rural areas, thus that the local government is also looking to focus there and make sure that everyone is educated and empowered. But for now, it's back to you guys in studio.